Okay. So, okay, thank you all for taking time to join this meeting. So in this meeting, we are going to try and discuss how we can build the first version of a world-class product, okay, which could make a better world. So we had talked about this GPL, and we talked about an open source software, which anyone who wants to set up a GPL anywhere in the world can use, right? So what we are going to say is that, I won't spend too much time about trying to explain what GPL is and why it's good and all this kind of stuff and why it's exciting. But this is one of the tasks for the product team, because the product team has to, what they have to do is that they have to motivate people to join their team, right? So as the thought leader, I had put LinkedIn posts. That's how some of you came to know about it, and you got excited to join the team, and you joined the team. Now, it may happen that some people get busy, or they feel that nothing will happen or whatever, and they leave. But there may be other people who come in, right? And this is why this becomes so challenging, because if we were trying to do a product with a fixed team, okay, then it's somewhat easier, right? If this was a paid thing, then it's somewhat easier, right? But here, this is very different, right? It's volunteer driven. Nobody is telling you that, hey, you have to do this. There's no boss, right? So any questions on this? I'm sure there are questions, so please feel free to jump in, and I'll try and answer to the best of my ability. So Swapnil, you want to start? Is this sort of clear?
I think it's clear, sir. So no question as such. Maybe
okay.
You can proceed. Yeah.
Okay, right. So I think what one should do, and so I discussed a little bit before I started this recording with Swapnil, and he has kind of volunteered to be the leader coordinator, just like Balkrishna Bhatt is on the technical side, right? So I am basically, my role is as coach for both Balkrishna Bhatt and for Swapnil. My expertise is much more on the product and business side, right? So I'm a better coach for that. So hopefully Swapnil will, as long as he remains the main leader coordinator, can interact with me. And to the extent that we need to discuss, which could be every day, or it could be once in 2 days, once in 3 days, then he can fix 1 hour of time with me. Okay. And then as the leader coordinator, then he can communicate it to all the others. There will be others who are leader coordinators, and we will have a Sunday meeting, which is an overall meeting where everybody who's involved in the project, if they're welcome, they can join the meeting, and we'll talk about some general things which can help people think about world-class product design, as well as any questions that people have for me, right? So this is going to be the sort of plan. So you can almost think of the leader coordinator role as a person who is leading a startup. So quite a few startups start with, say, just 2 people. There may be somebody on the technical side, there may be somebody on the business side, or somebody who has both business and technical skills. And they try and do something which can attract capital, can attract people, and whatever, right? So that is really what happens in a commercial product. or a startup that you're trying to do, right? So this is really not all that different, except here we are trying to do it with a volunteer team where nobody is paid. So that makes it even more exciting and challenging in a way, right? So, so one of the things that we need to do is we need to prepare a document, okay, which may have like an executive summary, which basically lays out why is this product exciting? Why should people volunteer to join the product team? They can join as, coordinating certain functions. Like, so if we break the whole work involved with the product into various blocks, then people can coordinate blocks. And then there can be an overall coordinator who's also coordinating some blocks. And initially, the leader coordinator will try and fill in all the blocks, though he or she may not have that much expertise in trying to fill in every single block, but it'll at least be filled in, and then it can be improved. Okay. So one of the things that we'll start talking about now is what are the blocks, right? And then Swapnil, you can take a crack at making a document which is at least lays out the skeleton for the product, right? Which is basically a document which says, okay, I need to do the, homepage, right? So the homepage, there may be some bullets for the homepage, but the homepage will not be exactly designed, right? So this is basically doing the skeleton first. Okay. So is this clear? Are there any questions? So Swapnil, I think maybe you can sort of interact with me, and then anyone else who wants to step in can step in and also ask questions. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's clear, sir. Like I can definitely pitch in with the document. And
so before you have, you must have done some stuff like this before,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Whether you were in IIM or wherever, right?
Yeah.
So you generally get the picture, right? So this is a high-level document,
Sure.
which lays out the tasks. Because if you have to manage a team, then you have to say, okay, Rupesh, can you take this task? Neil, can you do this? Pranjal, can you do this? Ritik, can you do this? Whatever it is, right? And people will say yes or no, I'm not, this is not in my comfort zone, or I can do this, I can do that, I can do something else, whatever, right? So that is something that, Swapnil, you will have to manage. Okay.
Yes, noted.
Okay. So now let's try and see what are the components of this product and who will use it and who will we market it to, right? Because just as we are trying to attract a product team which will help build this product, we also want to attract various categories of people who will use this product, because then we can test that what we are building, does this make sense to the people that we want the product to be used by, right? So very often people get so excited by the product that they are building that they don't see whether anyone is going to use it. So they build a hammer and then that hammer is looking for a nail, right? So we don't want to make that mistake, right? What we also want to do is that aside from the users, there's going to be someone who's going to be setting up a GPM, right? So that could be, like we talked about last time, it could be educational institutions, It could be consulting firms. It could be venture capital firms, etc. Right? So what will be the revenue model? Okay. So Swapnil, I will send you separately a financial model, an Excel that one person and I put together, okay, which is a very rough cut model for a financial plan for somebody who sets up a GPL. Okay. So I'll send it to you after this meeting, and then we can schedule a meeting. So I'm not free on Wednesday, but I'm free on, not actually, I'm not free till Saturday. Okay, because I'm going for the Surat event and all that, and I'm going to speak and all that kind of stuff. So we can do it on, we can do a 1 hour meeting on just understanding this Excel if you think it's necessary. Because at least I find it very difficult to understand other people's Excels. Okay. So any comments, Swapnil, so far?
Yeah, I think Sunday we can do, sir, 1 hour if you're free. We can go through the Excel.
No, so Saturday, if you're free, we can do it on Saturday, or we can do it anytime after Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever.
Yes, Saturday early morning we can do it, I think. Like like 9
So you
a.m.
send me
9:30.
a time which works for you.
Okay, sure.
Let me see. No, so Saturday, I am going to be, I'll let you know when I'm back.
Sure, sir. You can let me know. I think
We can see. So if
1
we
hour.
fit it in on Saturday, fine. There's
Yeah,
no great rush, right? I mean,
yes,
it's okay. We are doing this, but it's sooner the better, right? I mean, it's
got it.
okay. So, so that's one of the things that I want you to sort of think about in general when you're trying to do a product is that I at least don't find any harm in trying to make some assumptions and build a financial plan for that product. Right? So a lot of people find this very difficult because you haven't built anything. You don't know what the market is. You don't know what the price is, right? But if you apply yourself intelligently to this problem, then you can make a financial plan which can form part of your business plan. So if you look at startups, people will give you conflicting advice. They say, yeah, don't waste your time doing a business plan and all, wo to bakwas hai, and anyway, it's going to change and all that kind of stuff. So what's the point in doing a business plan? Right? I am a believer in having some kind of a business plan, fully knowing that it will change. Right? And your assumptions may be very wrong. Okay. So this is what you need to think about. Now, the business plan can have several components, right? Depending on who do you want to address this to, right? And it could have lots of kind of teaser presentations or depending on your audience, right? So one deliverable that we are going to work on is the basic business plan for somebody who wants to set up a GPL. Okay. So Swapnil, you can make a note of some of these deliverables and you can add to it and other people can also add to it. But one document that we need is that if I go to, say, Harvard and say, why don't you set up a GPL? And here is why you should set up a GPL. And we've built this open source platform, which will help you at least get started. But the basic thing is that's all fine. You built all this and you've tested it in software. And so it'll make it easy for me to get to market. But why should I do this? why is this exciting for me as Harvard to do this? Right? So if we say educational institutions or consulting companies or venture capital firms should do this, then we need to have some kind of a document that we can give them, some kind of a presentation that we can give them, which excites them, okay, and makes them read the document and maybe then set up a GPA. And the thing is, our objective is that they set up a GPL. Whether they use our software or not is a secondary objective. Because if they can build their own software, great, let them do it. Right? And there. So any question so far? Okay, no. So, okay. So let me move on. Right? So that's one deliverable. Now, if you see this company Sapio, which set up a company that is possibly going to use the GPL model, and that they may not use the GPL model totally, they may change it, etc., which is all right by us because we are not forcing anyone. We are just giving all this as a starting point because different people will adapt it. Because you remember the Toyota example that I gave earlier, I think, that we are building the 80% type of thing, right? But different countries may have different flavors, people may have better ideas, etc., etc. So this whole initial version of the minimum viable product that we're going to build is likely to change a lot over time. Okay. And in my experience, what you start off with is very different from what actually works, right? But if you don't start off with something, then you never get to something that works. Okay. Right. So this is one deliverable. There's a presentation that the Sapio has done, which they are probably going to try and talk to the district of Surat. So that is probably going to be like the collector and maybe the MLA or MP from Surat or whatever it is. Some people, maybe some influential people from Surat who want to Surat to develop. Now I'll talk a little bit about this in a little bit more detail, because it will illustrate a little bit of a point as we think about each user case, how do we do it? So we have to say, hey, okay, we are going to kind of approach a district and say, why don't you start thinking like this? Why don't you issue an RFP for consultants to help you transform Surat into becoming one of the best districts in the world? Okay. Now, the thing is, Surat will say, so if you were in Surat's position, what are some of the questions that you might ask? You would say, has this been done anywhere before in the world? Why should I issue this RFP? And I don't even have the authority to issue this RFP because only state governments can issue it or whatever, right? So they may have many, many objections in terms of that. So you're going to find them and then you're going to have to deal with all those objections in terms of actually trying to make a sale of your product, right? So we are one level removed, right? Because we are not setting up a GPL. So there are people who are setting up GPLs who are making the sale and all those kind of things. And, slowly it'll become an interactive process, because if there are more people interested in setting up GPLs, then there'll be more conversations with people like districts and all those kind of things. And that'll get them more interested in getting this open source product developed. The more people hear about this concept, the more they like it, and they feel that the little bit of time that they're spending on is going to result in something. The more easy is it going to be to get people to volunteer to build the product or build the technology, right? So this is a classic chicken and egg problem, right? So most startups all end up facing this problem, right? So there is a presentation deck that they've prepared, which I shared. Now, our product team could make it generic, right? Because one of the work streams that we'll have is setting up a dummy user, like we talked about. So not Sapio, okay, but some dummy user, like Better World Consulting or something, okay? So one work stream for the product group is to define what this Better World Consulting is and set up the, so one person can be like, maybe we get somebody on the product team who is actually working for a consulting organization, maybe like Deloitte or McKinsey or Bain or Accenture or somebody, and feels, hey, this is a very cool project. I want to learn something about consulting and disrupting consulting. So I want to take on this task of playing the role of a user and also then trying to test out the software, right? And that work stream may involve the help of a lot of people. Like, for instance, Pranjal is based in Assam, right? So now, whoever the person who's leading this kind of user as to user testing, all this kind of stuff of the product, and being like the sponsor of the product, okay, then they will probably make some test cases, okay, which can be used to test the software when it's developed, right? So we can make some very initial test cases which will be used for the software. That will help the technical team build that. And then once the software passes that UAT, which is more or less like the functional test, then there'll be questions of saying, yeah, can this thing scale? If it can handle 5 people who signed up, can it handle 500 people? Can it handle 5,000 people? Can it handle 100,000 people? And so on and so forth. Those are sort of separate issues. But first, we need to get the functional stuff straight, right? So one work stream besides the business plan is going to be so that we've so far talked about 2. One is the business plan. The second is a presentation for districts. The third is this whole user work stream, right? So a presentation to consulting companies, venture capitalists, educational institutions. Now, this may be one presentation and maybe many presentations, et cetera, right? So that's broadly the work stream there, right? Then we have the thing of, we want to attract other people like me and Anita to be thought leaders for this GPL. Now, that will be a task which each GPL will actually do, right? But because we are giving them a generic thing, we can make a pitch, like as part of our Better World Consulting, saying, how would you approach a thought leader and why will a thought leader join you? And who should you approach, right? And what is the role of a thought leader, right? Then there could be another stream. So we probably need a presentation or a document to attract thought leaders, and maybe a list of people, at least some list, who could be thought leaders. Like a person like Anand Mahindra could be a thought leader. People like Uday Kotak or Kumar Mangan or Nandan Nilekani or somebody, right? So we can test that out. Okay, then we need a deck to attract mentors. Okay. Now, the difference between a thought leader and a mentor is that the mentor will actually put money as an angel investor into some of the people who build unicorns, whom we will also try and attract. So we'll have a presentation for thought leaders, a presentation for mentors. Then there may be celebrities who want to support this cause, right? So why should celebrities get involved? So presentation for celebrities. Then there might be a presentation for corporates. Okay, so because GPL is not taking donations, but corporates might want to sponsor certain content. It's there. They might want to encourage their employees and other people that they touch to join the platform, right? So there could be some sort of presentation to corporates. Then the most important part, presentation to individuals, saying why should you join this platform, which is there in the homepage, and it's not really a presentation. That's your whole platform design. Okay. So as you can see, that there are many different deliverables and work streams that are emerging. Okay. And the first task, Swapnil, that you have, and everybody can help Swapnil, right? You don't have to wait for this, because you can write something, just an email saying, hey, these are all the blocks and the things and the stuff that we need to do, right? And these are the kind of people that we need. Okay. And you can send that all to Swapnil to coordinate. Right. So, so all this may seem like very challenging and very overwhelming, but if you actually approach it in bite-sized pieces, then you can actually do it, right? And step by step, the whole jigsaw puzzle gets solved. Okay. So I'll open it up to anyone who has questions on this, because this is all that I really wanted to communicate in today's meeting. And before I open it up, I wanted to say that, Swapnil, you should craft a message, okay, to saying that, I'm excited to volunteer, whatever, something like this Balakrishna Bhatt did. Okay, and mention me in the message, so I know that you've sent the message, and then I will share it with the network. Okay, and basically saying that if you want to, so the first task that I'm working on is this particular document. Now you may want to send that message once you've got the document done, or you may want to send it earlier. That's up to you. And then say that, look, I'm just going to work with a lot of people. There is no hierarchy here. I'm just acting as a coordinator. And also, I'm going to try and put the first version of all this together with your help. And then we can keep improving it. Okay. So
I've taken all the notes, sir. So you mentioned about the prepared document with executive summary and basically laying out overall plan, right? And next was about the financial plan and the how, let's say someone wants to set up a GPL, then what would be their basic plan for them, business plan for them. So can we look at this one by one? Like first, let's prepare a document with all the basic steps, like
Yeah.
what all we need to do.
See, I'll leave the sequencing up to you.
Yeah.
I'm just trying
Okay.
to lay out all. See, what you have to do also is, again, once you have something, then besides structuring time with me, you should structure some time with Balakrishna. Okay. So ostensibly, the kind of roles that we are playing is I'm like CEO, coach, whatever, right? You are the product head, business head, and Balakrishna is the tech head, right?
No,
So
we are volunteers.
yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm just saying that's
Yeah.
broadly the
No,
rule.
I got it. I was just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. So what the thing is that if each person keeps waiting for the other person, now then you will have tremendous delays, right? And what we did, for instance, in PayPal, was that I might have been the business head, but I contributed to the technology while the technology person contributed to the business. Okay. There were no hard and fast boundaries, right? I wasn't saying that, look, I'm the product guy, so you can't question me, right? And I'm the tech guy, you can't, so it was all like a lot of teamwork, right? And that's what makes it fun. Okay. So that is how, this whole thing will evolve. So what I will do, like I said, after this meeting is I'm going to share this Excel. Okay. So, and then we'll talk about that Excel, but that's just one little part. You can also work on whatever else. And when you have something, you can share it with me, with others, whatever you want, right? Because, here you have full autonomy, right? You don't have to ask permission from anybody, right? Okay. Okay. So is there any other question? Otherwise, we can sort of wind up this meeting.
No, sir. I think all good. I'll connect with
Yeah.
Balakrishna,
Yeah.
and I will
And
also send
think
out a
about,
note with whatever we discussed today.
yeah.
So people are aware. So you want me to write a detailed message on the chat, or should
No,
we?
no, no. No, this is fine because we've recorded this, right? I'll
Yeah,
post the recording, and you can refer to the recording
sure.
or whatever. You see it, I'll send it to you first. Okay, you can post it on the Slack and on the chat and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you can, if you want, even post it on LinkedIn, whatever you want. Because one of the advantages of just posting it, it shows the nature of this project, right? That we are moving fast. We are not trying to do something which is perfect. We are putting in stuff. And we are saying, hey, if you want to join the team, join. Then
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. You want to leave the team, leave, right? We'll see what happens, right? And we'll see, because what we are trying to do is we are trying to see slowly, we'll get more and more input about what do people think, is this a really good product or is it not, right? Because see, when you are managing a product or a business, you have to ask yourself also, am I convinced that this is good? So all of you should be looking at this whole GTL thing, the stuff that we are trying to build, and say, will this work? Or,
Yeah. Actually, sorry, sir, interrupting you. But yeah, at this point, sir, because I feel even I mean, I've attended your calls, but I myself need to maybe do a bit of brainstorming around the topic, get into the nitty-gritties about what
yeah,
exactly it is and how it can be worked out. So
exactly.
that's the point, sir. Yeah.
And what are the competitors? What are the other options? Blah, blah, blah. Now, the only thing I would caution you is that with many of these things, you have to sometimes take a leap of faith. Okay. Because everything does not come neatly dotted and with all the I's dotted and the T's crossed and all those kind of things, right? So the more you do things, then you test it, then You get maybe negative feedback. And sometimes the negative feedback are what we call showstoppers. So you abandon the project. The other is that there is some feedback and saying, hey, if we did a pivot, like you may have heard this term called pivot, right? That we move in a different direction, then it kind of works, right? So that's also par for the course in the terms of this. And I'll end with this, that, whether this project succeeds or not, if you put in effort and you really try and this thing, I think you will learn a lot, whether it succeeds or it fails, because you can learn from failure as well as you can learn from success. Right? So on this happy note, should we end this meeting? Knowing that most likely we're going to succeed.
Yes, of course.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I think also maybe there is in this call Rupesh, Ritik, Neil, and Pranjal.
Hey.
So maybe they can also let us know their views about this, because I know I'll be honest here. I also have a lot of I also don't have many clues about the whole topic, but I've heard sir and the vision I find very interesting. So we'll try to find solutions one by one. So if anyone is feeling confusing, don't worry. I'm also in the same boat, but we'll try to research
and your confusion and questions, you can all direct them at Swapnil. And I'm just trying to make this effective, in terms of communication, so that then Swapnil can ask me all the questions, I can respond and I can learn from him. And, so at some point in time, if there's so much negative feedback, then I'll also say, hey, this thing, maybe we should not do it, right? Whatever. But from so far, I've discussed this with a lot of people. Okay. And people think, this is quite different. It's exciting. It may work. It may not work, but it's worth trying. That's the feedback I've got so far. Okay. Now, I'm also going to be most probably traveling to the US because it's the 20th reunion of the PayPal IPO. So there's some sort of get-togethering of all the early PayPal people. So to that extent, if we have something ready by that time, which is like some very early version of the website or some documents or whatever it is, then, I might be able to expose it to some of the early PayPal people and get their feedback as well, which would be pretty cool in there, right? In terms of seeing, because like the early PayPal people have done amazing things. Right? So it will be good to chat about it with them. And while I can chat about it just informally, if there is something which is even half-baked, it will be quite helpful. Okay.
Sure.
Okay then. Sure. I'm going to end.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
I will try to create one, and we'll try to get it started, and then from there we'll see, sir.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, we'll connect.